Hi, welcome. This is Chapter 7, Homework 3, and we're going to review CPCTC. So what does it stand for? Well, in class we talked about it stands for the fact that the corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. So this concept goes along with what we kind of already know logically, that if two triangles are absolutely the same triangle, and we don't really have that on the front of our worksheet. That's probably more like what we have here on the back of the worksheet. But if you have congruent triangles and you know they're equal to each other, then their corresponding parts would also have to be congruent. So this is just having us practice what are the corresponding parts. So the front here is just getting us thinking about the corresponding parts, the pieces and parts that make up shapes and angles. Okay, so it says list all the information given by the marks. There's at least 3 pieces of information to go ahead and list. So this is helping us with label. I see one necklace here, one necklace here. So there's a couple ways to list that angle, but I'm going to call that angle WCG. WCG has one necklace, and it looks like XCE. Angle XCE has one necklace. I also see 2 necklaces here and 2 necklaces here. So I'm going to name this angle GCF and this angle FCE. Okay, now it says I got to keep looking. Okay, so I see one mark here and one mark here. And so wherever the mark is, it should be in the middle of what they're marking. So I believe what they're marking here is those line segments. So I'm going to call that line segment HW must be congruent to XD because they put a little mark there. Cool. And they said list at least 3 things. Next item, it says this item. And I could go over here and say matches this item, but this is corresponding. So I'm going to go to this other one. So I'm going to say US, side US, must match side PQ. And it looks like side ST must match side RQ. I also know that angle U must match angle T. Looks good. 1, 2, 3. Let's look at number 4. One necklace, one necklace. Now there's more than one angle happening at S. So I'm going to go back to the 3-letter naming. So that's RST is congruent to RTS. Okay. Now let's do the 2 necklaces. That angle and that angle are a match. So that's VST. Must be congruent to UTS. And it says, interesting, it says I have to come up with 3 things here. So it is saying that this line, TV is parallel to RS. TV. This is confusing me here. I don't know what this means. I think that must be a typo. I think one other thing we know is congruent is we know this angle out here would be congruent. So this is a weird one. I don't know. I'm going to add a letter out here because I think that this is a typo. This doesn't make sense to me. TV is parallel to RS. This line and this line are not parallel. Who knows? Okay, so I'm going to add UVW. I'm going to call that W. And I'm going to say angle WRS. WRS is congruent to this angle, SRT. SRT, because they're both equal to 90 degrees. Okay, and that's 3 things. All right, let's keep going. Now this means they're parallel, so that might tell us an additional piece of information, but for right now we have this segment is equal to that segment, HG, congruent to EF, and then it looks like angle F is congruent to angle E. Okay. And if these are in fact parallel, we know that if it makes a Z, that spells AIAT. So this angle and this angle have to be congruent because they're alternate interior angles. So because of the alternate interior angle theorem, I know that those two angles have to be congruent. But I don't really have names for these out here. So what other ones? Well, I also noticed that this angle here and this angle here would have to be congruent because this would make a Z. I don't have letters for that either though, so that's interesting, right? So they are telling us, ooh, they did give us an extra piece of information. They said this line is perpendicular to that line. So in a way, we do know that this has to be 90 degrees. So I could call that GFH, FGH. And I could pick this angle over here, or actually any of these angles. So if that is in fact perpendicular, let's pick this one, but I don't have a letter, so this is really annoying. I think this sheet, they could have done a better job at. H, I'm gonna call that I. So this angle should also be 90, GHI. Cool. All right, next one. Now they're saying, this is just a typo here. There is no line EFD. So there's some mistakes on this. So let's just collect information we know. It looks like this one matches this one. A couple different answers here, but I'll go with this one. This one matches this one. And this angle matches this angle. Angle Z is congruent to angle X. All right, last one. It says these lines, AB and AC, are perpendicular. We kind of know that anyway because we see a right angle. So we are told angle B and C are congruent. We're told these are congruent. BA is congruent to AC. And once again, I probably know a lot of other things. If that's 90, I know that's 90. So let's continue this out and I'll call that D, point D out there. So I'm going to say this angle, BAC, BAC has to be congruent to DAB because they're both equal to 90 degrees. Thanks for joining us. Check out the next video for the back.